Good afternoon. I'm calling to order the New Ulm Planning Commission meeting. It is Thursday, June 24th, 2021, 4:30. First item on the agenda is the minutes from the May 27th meeting. Are there any corrections, additions?
I'll offer a motion to approve as presented.
I'd second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Second portion of the meeting is the public hearing. There's the consideration of the application of Margaret Manderfeld requesting a variance from the city code to allow a 10 by 12 foot garden shed to be located 2 feet from the rear property line on the property legally described as rear one half of lot 10, block 141, north of Center Street. The street address is 811 First North Street. The required yard setback is 5 feet for a detached accessory structure. City report?
Okay. This property is generally located east of First North Street between Washington and Franklin. So it's one half of a corner lot. The deadline for the decision on this application is July 20th, 2021. The land use designation for this property is low-density residential. Surrounding land uses are also low-density residential to the north, south, east, and west. Its zoning designation is R2, that's the single and two-family residence district. It's surrounded by R2 to the north, south, east, and west. Currently, the site is used as a single-family residence, and current area uses are residential to the north, south, east, and west. Public hearing notice was published in the New Ulm Journal on June 12th, 2021, and to date, we have not received any comments on this application. So to describe the project, the property owner is proposing to construct a 10 by 12 detached garden shed 2 feet from the south property line, which would be the rear property line. The property currently has a 6 foot by 10 foot garden shed located in the southeast corner of the property that is approximately 2 feet from the east property line and then 2 feet from the south property line. The applicant is proposing to place the new garden shed in the same general location as the existing shed, but 5 feet from the side property line to meet the side yard setback and then remain 2 feet from the rear property line. So to give you a little bit of a visual, on the east side is on the adjoining property, there is a shed located there approximately 5 feet from the property line. The rear property line for Miss Manderfeld, there is a retaining wall right there. This property is located in the grid section of New Ulm and frequently contains corner lots that were split. Because of the small sizes of the lots, the city considers a half lot on a corner to have one front yard setback of 10 feet and then 3 side yard setbacks of 5 feet. This property is half lot with dimensions of 50 feet wide by 82 feet long. The front yard line, that is the front yard line for this property is the one that abuts First North Street, and the side lot lines are the remaining 3 lot lines that are not abutting that street. Applicant has stated that the garden shed will be placed on a gravel pad and will be on skids. Again, the new shed would be 5 feet from that east property line and 2 feet from the south property line. So requirements for a variance approval are outlined in state statute, and those standards are listed on the second page of the city's variance application. Specifically, the variance requirements for approval ask if there are any circumstances unique to the property that necessitate the need for a variance. This question is often related to physical features in the property, such as a steep slope, a ravine, water features, or the like. It is staff's opinion that there aren't any unique features on this property that would necessitate the need for a variance. So alternative actions that the Planning Commission could consider. One would be to allow a reduced side yard setback, do not allow a reduced side yard setback, or 2, lessen the variance amount. There are 5 attachments. First attachment is the variance application. Second attachment is the map showing the location of the property. The third attachment is the zoning map. Attachment number 4 is the site plan, and attachment number 5 are ground level photographs. Staff's recommendation. As I stated previously, it's the opinion of staff that there are not circumstances unique to the property that necessitate the need for a variance. Because the property is level, there aren't any water features, and it's regular in shape. But the purpose of the proposed detached garden shed is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the use of this property. The proposed garden shed would be no closer to the south property line than the existing garden shed. And the placement of this garden shed does not change the essential character of the neighborhood, as it'll continue to be used for residential purposes. If approved, staff would recommend one condition, that the applicant locate the property boundaries and verify the location of the garden shed on the site with city staff prior to the placement of the structure. I should note that city staff has been out to the site and visited with the applicant on where the property lines are located.
Okay.
That concludes the staff report.
Any questions? Concerns?
John, was it consistent then with the current concrete retaining wall of the property line, basically? That,
You know, when we go out and take measurements to figure out property lines, without a survey, we can't be exact. We generally get pretty close. And yeah, the retaining wall would be very close to where the property line would be on the south side of Miss Manderfeld's property.
And the existing shed is the same distance. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so it's just basically going over the old shed, that spot.
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I personally don't see any issues with it.
I
You
don't
have the
see any
retaining
issues.
wall as a nice boundary, and you got a hedge there, and, you know,
2 feet behind it, you can clean it.
you can service it. I think otherwise, if you have 5 feet, then just it's a junk collector. What are you gonna do with it, you know? That's just my opinion, but.
Anyone else have any comments, questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
Did you have a comment, ma'am? If you wouldn't mind stepping up to the speaker or the microphone, thank you. Yes.
State your name and address, please.
Margaret Manderfeld at 811 First North. The retaining wall to the south of me actually belongs to the people in that property, and they have no objection. They have the retaining wall plus a large hedge, and I maintain the hedge on my side, and I maintain their foot or whatever on my property. They don't do any maintenance or anything on that side of the yard. But they have indicated they have no issue with it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve with the staff recommendations.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, the motion is to approve with recommendations. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations.
Would just like to note that this will go to the city council on July 6th.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of the application of Mike Crowell on behalf of Tim Conroy requesting a variance from the city code to allow a 14 by 30-foot garage addition to be constructed 5 feet from the side yard property line on the property legally described as Lot 24 Highlands subdivision. The street address of the property is 214 North Highland Avenue. The required yard setback is 10 feet. City report.
Sure. So the property location is generally located east of Highland Avenue and south of Hilltop Avenue. The deadline for a decision on this application is August 8th, 2021. The comprehensive plan land use designation is low-density residential. Surrounding this property is low-density residential to the north, south, east, and west. This property is zoned R1, the single-family residence district. Surrounding zoning to the north, south, east, and west is also R1. Currently, the site is used as a single-family residence. The current area uses include residential to the north, south, east, and west. There was a public hearing notice published in the Journal on June 12th, 2021, and to date, we have not received any comments on this application. To describe the project, the property owner is proposing to construct a 14 by 30 foot long attached garage addition 5 feet from the south property line, which would be the side property line. Property currently has a single stall garage with a concrete pad located on the south side of the residence. The applicant is proposing to construct the garage over the existing concrete pad. The existing residence located on this property is approximately 19 feet from the side property line to the south, of which they're asking for the variance from. Section 9.06 subdivision 5C of the city code requires that there shall be a side yard on each side of a building, each yard having a width of not less than 10 feet. So the side yard requirement here would be 10 feet, and again, the variance being requested is to put that addition 5 feet from the property line. The applicant has stated that they currently have a concrete parking pad on the south side of the house and that this garage addition would fit nice over that pad. The new garage addition would be 5 feet from the south property line and approximately 24 feet from the rear or east property line. All of the properties between Center and Hilltop Avenue and east of Highland Avenue were constructed between 1950 to 1962 before the current zoning code was adopted. Many of these properties within the area do have structures within the 10-foot side yard setback area. At the same time, there are a number of them too that also meet that side yard setback of 10 feet. Alternative actions for this application would be to not allow a reduced side yard setback or to lessen the variance amount. For supporting data, we have the attachment 1, the variance application, attachment 2, map showing the location of the property, attachment 3 is the zoning map, attachment 4 is the site plan, attachment 5 are ground level photographs. Like the previous variance request that we just heard, it's our opinion that there are not circumstances unique to this property that necessitate the need for a variance, as the property is level, without water features, and regular in shape. But the proposed garage addition is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the use of this property, and the placement of this garage does not change the essential character of the neighborhood, as the site will continue to be used for residential purposes. If approved, staff would recommend one condition, that the applicant shall locate the property boundaries and verify the location of the proposed garage addition on site with city staff prior to the placement of the structure. And I'd like to note that city staff has been up there with the applicant for property to locate the property boundaries, and there are actually pins up there to use.
Okay.
That concludes the staff report.
The other property is within the setback, also the neighboring property. Is that the neighboring, I look at the pictures, the neighboring house, or is that a garage on the neighbor's side?
I believe on that side of that would be their house.
Their house, okay. So it's similar to the Conroy house and the house, okay, thank you.
So John, we would still have 15 feet there, because the neighbor would have 10, and then
No, the neighbor only has
neighbor only has 5,
Correct.
5.5,
so you'll have 10 feet
yeah.
basically between them.
And you said there weren't any comments.
We hadn't received any comments.
How, is this as tall as the house that's a 2-story? Is it, I'm assuming it's going to accommodate the trailer that he has parked there, the mobile home that he has parked there?
We have both the applicant and the contractor working on the project. Maybe you could help answer that.
Okay.
I'm Mike with Mike Crow Construction. The garage will be lower than the current house. The house is a two-story. There's some bedroom windows above it, so the roof line will have to stay below that so we can keep those egress windows. So it's not gonna be a big gaudy looking thing on
That
there,
was
so.
the question. that I
Yeah,
had,
it'll
'cause
just
I
be a
noticed
standard, small, it'll fit on there nicely, so,
Tall enough to accommodate, though, I'm assuming. Okay,
yeah.
all
Yep.
right. Thank you.
I think it's part of the going trend where everybody, has items. They have more than one vehicle.
Yeah, and it's an older neighborhood and everybody has toys, so,
And if we look at the original grid work in New Ulm, we had 5-foot setbacks,
right.
and
And it's only a single garage there now.
Correct.
So most residences have two vehicles. Are there any other questions, comments? I have a motion, one.
I'll make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve with recommendations. Are there any other questions? All in favor?
I
Opposed? John, when does this come before the council?
This would also go to the city council on July 6th.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the to consider the application of Chris Dalton on behalf of the city of New Ulm requesting a variance from the city code to allow an additional 185 square feet of exterior signage on the newly constructed recreational center addition on the property legally described as Lot 1, Block 1, Steinhauser addition. The street address is 122 South Garden Street. The permitted amount of sign space in the R1 district is 30 square feet.
Okay.
Staff.
I believe everybody knows where this property is, but I'll describe it
Yeah.
anyways. Property is generally located south of Center Street and west of Garden Street. Deadline for a decision on this application is August 10th, 2021. The comprehensive plan designation for this property is park and open space. Surrounding land uses based on the comprehensive plan to the north include park and open space. To the east and west, public and semi-public spaces, and to the south, low-density residential. Its zoning designation is R1. It's the single-family residence zoning district. Surrounding zoning to the north, south, and west are R1, and then B2 B1, the limited business district to the east. Current site use is the city's recreation center. Current area uses include Harmon Park to the north, Brown County Family Services Building to the east, Martin Luther College to the west, and then single-family residences to the south. Public hearing notice was published in the Journal on June 12th, 2021, and to date we have not received comments on this application. To describe the project, the City Park and Recreation Department has added 3 new signs on the new Recreation Center addition on 2 sides of the building, the east and the north sides. The new signage consists of the following: 2 New Ulm Recreation Center Turner Gymnastics Academy signs facing the north and the east. These 2 signs equal a total of 174 square feet. They added 1 welcome sign above the entrance of the new addition that faces north. This sign is 11 square feet. So the total new signage added for this project is 185 square feet. The new signage on the property faces Garden Street and Center Street. There will be no new signage installed on the south side of the property facing the residential area. Existing signage on the property is as follows. There is 1 wood Steinhauser Park sign that is located at the intersection of Center Street and Garden Street. This sign is 32 square feet. The Vogel Arena wall sign is painted on the north side of the existing building and meets the definition of wall sign per city code. This sign is approximately 480 square feet. The existing New Ulm Recreation Center sign that is at the entrance off of Garden Street will be removed with this project. The additional signage would bring the total amount of square footage for signs on the property to approximately 700 square feet, 697. The new addition to the recreation center has a wall surfaces of approximately 5,500 square feet for the wall facing Center Street, and then 3,380 square feet for the walls facing Garden Street. So combined, new signage would take up roughly 2% of the new wall area that was added on for this new recreation center addition. Section 9.14 subdivision 1A of the city code requires that one identification sign not exceeding 30 square feet in area for the following uses: church, school, hospital, sanitarium, club, library, or similar uses. Such signs shall be solely for the purpose of displaying the name of the institution, and it shall be solely for the purpose, repeated myself in the staff report here. Cross that out. It shall be for activities and services. Such signs may be illuminated. Such signs may be placed in the front yard, but in no case may be placed in any side yard. So the initial construction of Vogel Arena started in 1978, and at that time the large Vogel Arena sign was installed, as well as the Steinhauser Park sign at the corner of Center and Garden Street when the building was constructed. In reviewing other city ordinances regarding institution or educational facilities located in residential zoning districts, there are a couple of approaches that other communities are using. One approach is to designate a specific maximum amount of allowed signage for the property, similar to what we currently have in our city code. But each community has its own nuances, including allowing additional signage if the property has more property abutting the right-of-way. Another approach is to designate a maximum percentage of a sign area per building wall face abutting the right-of-way. That's why I gave the example of what the square footages were earlier. St. Cloud, for instance, allows up to 5% of the wall area abutting a right-of-way to be signage for an institution or educational facility located in a residential district. So as the city is in the process of updating its zoning ordinance, we are considering some of these different approaches to sign areas for institutions, educational facilities, and other like uses in residential districts. So the Planning Commission in the future will need to consider these different approaches. To date, the city has granted 4 sign variances for institutions or educational facilities located in residential zoning districts since 1977. These variances allowed the increase in square footage beyond the allowed 30 square feet and are as follows. In 2000, Cathedral of the Holy Trinity was allowed an additional sign on the property beyond the one allowed sign per church. In 2002, Independent School District 88 at 400 South Payne was allowed to install a 60 square foot electronic reader sign. In 2014, MLC College at 1995 Luther Court was allowed to add 8 square feet of signage above 30 square feet that's allowed. And then in 2015, Independent School District Independent School District 88 at 1600 Oak Street was allowed to go 87 square feet larger than the allowed 30 square feet. So that's for the new high school. Alternative actions include do not increase the amount of square footage allowed for signage on the property or to lessen the variance amount. For supporting data, attachment 1 is the variance application. Attachment 2 is the sign plan. Attachment 3 is the site location map. Attachment 4 is the zoning map. Attachment 5 are ground level photographs. Staff recommendation. The large size of the parcel and the structure would be unique to this property and to residential zoning districts. The placement of this signage does not change the essential character of the neighborhood, as this site will continue to be used for recreational purposes. In the future, it is likely that the updated zoning ordinance will try to address institutions or educational building sign area allowances in a different manner than they are today. We have 2 recommended conditions. The applicant shall contact the city building official once all the signage on the property is installed to verify the compliance if the variance amount were to be granted. And then 2, any signage above 700 square feet on the property would necessitate an additional variance. I should note that we reviewed 9 different city codes in Minnesota and even into Wisconsin to see specifically what they allow for signage for recreational facilities, institutions, schools in residential zoning districts. And surprisingly, New Ulm's current code of 30 square feet is not far off from many of them that we looked at. A lot, when I talked about nuances earlier, one that we saw pop up frequently is you get 1 square foot per lineal foot of road frontage. So that would increase the allowed signage. But of all of the 9 that we looked at, St. Cloud would have allowed a maximum of about 500 square feet, and that would have been, out of the 9 that we looked at, the one that allowed the highest amount of square footage of signage on that property.
And I did understand correctly, and reading correctly, there is nothing on the residential side of the building other than illumination for property. There's no lit sign or anything.
Correct.
Just one comment I'd like to add. Reference was made to the fact that this is something that we're going to be looking at with our update of our zoning ordinance and the signage portion of that. That's not to say that the conclusion we reach is necessarily to allow something like this. That decision has not been made.
Thank you.
I guess I have a question, in regards, looking at the signage, and I'm just saying it by definition, or if you took the gray part, that's New Ulm Rec Center and gymnastics, and then you take the Vogel Field House, that's a separate entity, even though they're all attached, but it's kind of identifiable just by color or the part of the structure. I don't know if everybody follows how I'm looking at that. When you look at the Vogel Field House and, it's defining it. Is there any way we could do that by the zoning, that it's by segment or part of the building?
No,
Okay, it's all or none.
yeah. It's by property.
Okay.
But as we had noted in the staff report, it's that Vogel Fieldhouse sign that is taking up the major portion of the total signage on that property. That's roughly 480 square feet of sign right there.
And that was prior to ordinances being in place, sign ordinances being in place, or?
Well, the sign ordinance would have been in place at that time.
Okay, but it was it got a variance then from at that.
There's no record of a variance
There's
for
no
that.
record of a variance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Could you easily be removed though too, if you
Well,
wanted it?
there is a city council resolution that was adopted in 1979 that that particular structure is to be named for Howard Vogel.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there would be a need for, I think, some recognition of that individual then on the building. So you could reduce the size of the sign and still meet that requirement.
Sure.
I'm trying to visualize what that looks like. Again, it's painted.
Well, you can see it
Here in the
Just
in one of the attachments
Yeah,
shows it.
if you go to 12 of 13. You can just see it over the Steinhauser Park sign.
Okay.
It seemed, the modernness and the newness of the new recreation puts the
Well, if you
the
have-
Vogel Field House at odds with the rest of the construction. It's kind of like, here's the old part we didn't clean up or change, but here's the nice shiny new part. I also think it's interesting that the signage is already up. We're making a determination on a foregone situation, so it looks good to me.
And you don't really see that Vogel Fieldhouse sign as much anymore because the trees and shrubbery have
Right.
grown up on the
Yeah,
hillsides.
you
You know, it used to be
highlight
when
here,
you,
it jumps out, but
you know,
you're right, you go by it every day.
yeah,
and
30
you don't
years
pay
ago,
attention to it.
you know, you didn't see it with the shrubbery and stuff like that going up and down
Right.
the hill, but it's only visible from the one corner, basically.
No, I agree. I thought that the newer signage looked more appropriate than the older signage, and,
I think it's interesting we decided to put Willkommen above the doors. I don't know how many of our residents actually know what Willkommen means.
well, it's on any sign you come into New Ulm, so.
I know. It's kind of old hat.
Goes to the tourism theme though, so.
I guess, you know, the signs are already up, but why didn't we get this 6 months ago, Tom? You know, you know, it's like we're asking for forgiveness later.
Is there a cart and a horse here? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's just, you know, we had a plan for everything else.
Madam Chair Earl and Commissioners, Tom Schmitz from the Park and Recreation Department. The answer to that question is that there was a misunderstanding between the architect, the construction management firm, the architectural firm, the construction management firm, and the city as far as the sign variance goes. So that misunderstanding is why we're here today instead of, you know, a month or two ago.
Better to ask forgiveness. The only thing that could be reduced at this time would be the Vogel sign. I don't see that is happening, so. Do I have a,
Perhaps you should ask that question of Mr. Schmitz.
I'd be happy to address that
would you be
question.
happy to?
Yes, the Vogel Fieldhouse paint on the north side of the fieldhouse. I mean, we all realize that the fieldhouse is a portion of the recreation center. It's not its own standalone facility. It's a portion of the recreation center. Our plans, our preliminary plans at this time are to eliminate or replace that paint with a sign similar to the two new ones on the Aquatic Center addition. So that will probably reduce the square footage of that painted sign that's up there now.
I would imagine if it's going to the similar style of the rest of the structure, that it would be a considerable reduction in signage space.
Yes, we haven't engineered that, designed that, or measured that yet, but we want it to be the same kind of sign and font and three-dimensional as opposed to paint.
Cohesive.
And I've already reviewed that with Dr. Howard Vogel's daughter, Dr. Ann Vogel, and she's very supportive of anything that we've been discussing here.
Is it possible to relocate the sign so it's more visible to the public?
Yes, anything's possible. We're still in the discussion phases of what to do with that Vogel Fieldhouse paint, which is degraded and needs to be removed, replenished, or changed, or relocated.
Are there any more questions, comments, discussion? I do have one question. Is this backlit? I mean, I'm assuming there's lighting behind these signs. I don't see anything from above.
They are facelit, is my
So
understanding.
from ground level or from? No. Okay. I didn't look at the sign.
If you look in attachment 1, the variance application,
Okay.
they do say that they are illuminated building ID signs. So Ryan, does that mean
It doesn't say how it's lit.
it'll be internally lit? Internally lit to the face, not to the face.
Okay. Okay.
And there isn't, so the larger sign says New Ulm Rec Center, Turner Gymnastics Academy. There's no other signage that says rec center, pool, entrance, or anything. It's really only the Gymnastics Academy that's called out on the external.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yes, the gymnastics facility is again a portion of the recreation center. There's one entrance. Everyone will be using the main new entrance
So
to go to many of the different areas within the recreation center,
Okay.
including gymnastics. They'll be coming in the main front door,
Right.
like everyone else.
Okay.
Well, I'll offer to a motion to approve with conditions, as staff stated.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve with conditions the sign variance for the rec center. Are there any further discussion? If not, I entertain a motion to approve. Everyone say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay. This closes the public hearing portion of the meeting. We move on to plats. 4-1 is consider the approval of final plat of Milford Heights, 4th edition.
Okay, so the commission received a recommendation on the preliminary plat at last month's meeting. And so I'm maybe not going to cover everything since this would just be a repeat of that. So the applicant is Erickson Construction and Development, LLC. The current legal description of the property is Lot 4 and 5, Block 3, Milford Heights, 1st edition. Street address is 637 and 641 Fender Drive. The property is generally located west of Fender Drive and south of Beinhorn Street. City Council approved the preliminary plat with conditions at their June 1st meeting. Deadline for a decision is August 14th of 2021. The land use designation of the property is low-density residential. The zoning designation of the property is R1, Single-Family Residence District. Current site use, it's vacant. Notice, none is required, and we have not received any public comments to date. Utilities are in Fender Drive, which these lots front. Natural gas and electrical is in the alley. Comprehensive plan does not designate a park within the platted area. The area to be platted consists of 2 existing lots, and so the plat would reconfigure those 2 lots. And in doing so would create 2 lots that are of equal width. This is accomplished by reducing the width of Lot 5, increasing the width of Lot 4. The site is flat. Total platted area is 0.46 acres. No parkland dedication fee is required since the number of lots is not being increased. The relocation of any existing utility equipment or lines will be done at the expense of the owner. I don't think that's going to be necessary. The applicant has applied for and received approval from the city council to vacate the existing 5-foot wide side yards easement areas that abut the existing lot 4 and 5, and that has been replaced on the plat with new 5-foot utility easement areas on either side of that property line. So that's a total easement width of 10 feet. Then we provide information on the lot area, lot width, and lot depth. And we identify the existing subdivision requirements, what the current lots have, and then what the new lots would have. And none of that has changed from the preliminary plat. The lots comply with city code requirements. Status of conditions. Number 1, pay the platting fee of $210. That payment has been made. And number 2 was to provide an electronic file of the plat in AutoCAD 2016 or newer format. And that notice has been provided to the land surveyor. And we always receive those files. We have 2 attachments. One is the final plat. The other is an aerial photograph showing the property. Staff would recommend approval of the final plat since it complies with city code requirements. And 2 motions are provided, one to approve and one to deny. That would conclude the staff report.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions, concerns? I think we asked them all at the last meeting.
I'd make a motion to approve with staff recommendations.
I don't think there are any staff recommendations.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
this-
recommendation, there's no conditions.
Oh, no
Which is-
conditions, okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion to approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Board is approved. The next item on the agenda is the staff report. Planning and zoning revision.
Okay.
Ordinance.
In your agenda packet, you received a report prepared by the staff on the status of this project. I'd like to go through that real quickly. Have you distributed the binders? Okay. First off, as far as items that have been completed, we've met with the city attorney to review Chapter 13, which is rules and definitions. And that took us approximately 8 hours to complete. Chapter 13 and Chapter 1 have been reviewed and approved by the city attorney. And so they were part of your agenda packet today, and they are included in the 3-ring binder that we passed out. And then staff has completed a preliminary review of Chapter 2. So items in process. We are currently making necessary modifications to Chapter 2, which is the application review and procedures. And previously talked about Chapter 13 and Chapter 1. Items that we intend to complete in the next month. We hope to have to the city attorney for his review Chapter 2 prior to July 1. I can tell you that we will not meet that goal. John is on vacation next week, and I'm on vacation the week after that. And we met yesterday, staff did, to go over some items, and we've got some additional work to do on that. So these are the types of things that push back some of our deadlines. We hope to have a preliminary and final review of Chapter 3 We reviewed approximately half of that, and I think the next half should be easy to get through, at least I hope so. And then we'd like to get into Chapter 4, which is the residential zoning districts, and we'd like to have that completed by July 31st. We'll have to see how it goes. That concludes that report.
And those dates you think are still good
Well, they are right now.
right now? I would think
Who
once you
knows-
got into
who
the
knows what
residential
happens.
zoning, it might take a little,
I think the amount of time it took us to get through the definition surprised me. I mean,
okay.
we met 3 different times, and then we had a telephone conference another time to get through.
Yeah, it just seems to me that these are tight deadlines because it is really not an easy thing to review these things.
No. And in many respects, we're doing the easy chapters. And now, definitions are just definitions. It's when you apply the definitions to something,
Yeah.
then it gets, takes maybe a little bit more time, a little bit more thought. And so I think starting with probably Chapter 4, the residential, is when that will come into play.
So that is the status report. Did you want us to go through both of these, or do you want to?
What I would like to do is wait until Chapter 2 is done, and then maybe do all 3 together at
Okay.
one time. And maybe what you should think about is just having a special work session where that's the only thing that we do.
Okay, and I did read quite a bit of it online till my eyes started to roll a little bit. I'm assuming you want us to take these, or do you want us to leave these so you can add to them? Because you don't want to keep making binders up every time you give us an addition. So,
Yeah, it was our intent for you to keep the binders. I know some of you also were hoping to do it online. I just brought the binders for everybody this time because you can see the amount of paper and words you'll be reading. It might be easy to track along with a binder, but as we bring new chapters to you, we'll bring paper copies for you to throw in your binder at the planning commission meetings.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of your responsibility that when we have work sessions, the binder's going to
right,
have to come with you.
okay. All right, thank
Unless
you.
you would prefer to do it a different way, that's kind of up to you.
That makes sense.
Yep, I'd appreciate, I can make notes, as I'm reading through, and I can
Right.
make notes for myself to just remember to bring up, so I appreciate this.
And I think it's easier to wait till we have a work session than it is to have a work section every time you give us something. I mean, most of these people have jobs, so, okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is reports, city council decisions concerning planning commission.
Yeah. So at the June 1st meeting, City Council approved the request of Eric Bodie for a conditional use permit. And that was with conditions, allowing 4 dwelling units in a B3 zoning district at 126 North Minnesota Street. Approved the request of Jeff Bertrang on behalf of New Ulm Public Schools for a conditional use permit, again with conditions, allowing a career technical education center on property zoned I2. And that is located in the 200 block of North Front, North Valley. Approved with conditions, the preliminary plat of Milford Heights 4th edition, just reported. And then, as I also mentioned, they vacated that easement area within Milford Heights 4th. At the June 15th meeting, our new mayor, Terry Sweeney, took his oath of office, conducted a public hearing on the final plat of Korth Second Subdivision, and the plat was approved. There were some conditions, and all of those conditions have been addressed since the public hearing. At that same meeting, they also appointed Jeffrey Grace as a new assistant city attorney. I don't know that we will be seeing him or working with him, but that did take place. They authorized an application for American Rescue Plan funds. That's the money from the federal government that has been allotted to local governments as well as other governmental units. And those funds can be used for a variety of different purposes, but one of the designated items is water, sewer, and broadband. So, and sewer includes both storm and sanitary sewer. So there's some potential application there within the city. They also awarded a contract to Bolton and Mink to provide engineering services for utility and street improvements in the airport industrial park expansion area. And basically that work is going to focus on James, which runs by Walmart. So we're going to extend that street to its intersection with Thompson Street, which goes by Windings and DLC.
Oh, okay.
And so the hope is that we'll be able to do that work in its entirety, maybe in 2022, but I guess that decision is yet to be made. So that would conclude the report on city council actions. I also wanted to take a little bit of time. One of the questions that came up at last month's meeting had to do with getting an application after property has been purchased and after plans have been prepared and after maybe building designs have taken place, and kind of the situation that puts you, the planning commission, in, as well as the city council, as well as staff. And so I think, as we explained at the meeting, the owner must sign the application. Now, so that means that when you have a transaction that is being considered, or a transaction that maybe has been completed but hasn't been recorded, I mean, an application can still be submitted. It's just that it would have to be signed by the existing owner, and the applicant then can also sign it. So an application can be processed through that process a little bit earlier, and we have had situations like that. So that we hope when people are contemplating doing something, we'd like to get that information as quickly as possible, and we would like them to apply as quickly as possible. Now, on the other side, we want to be able to give you sufficient information to allow you to make a decision. And so, you kind of end up having a balancing act here of wanting to get the application as soon as possible, but also then providing you with, enough information to be able to make a knowledgeable decision. So what the position that puts you in, I think, is that basically you have to make your decision based on the criteria that you find in the city code. So in the case of the conditional use permit, we have criteria that you're supposed to use to evaluate the request. And if you find that you don't think the application meets that requirement, then I think you should vote no.
Correct.
And that is a risk, I guess, that the applicant takes in perhaps delaying the submittal of an application.
Well, he doesn't want to submit until he knows he's, a property owner doesn't want to submit until they know what they're submitting for and have, something already planned. And so it's their risk.
Right. Yeah. But it puts you in a difficult spot, and we understand that. The second thing I wanted to just mention to you is that, you get from us sometimes fairly lengthy staff reports, and then we read the entire staff report. And, if you get the agenda, by email, and so you can read the staff report, and it's kind of like, okay, we're reading everything all over again. And we understand that. The reason we read the full staff report is, one, we have people watching, by television, by cable. We also have all of our meetings are put on YouTube so people can view them there. And so for those people, to understand the topic, they probably need to receive the full staff. So that's one reason. The second reason is the city attorney, for legal purposes, likes the full staff report read at the meeting. Then there's no doubt that the information was provided both to the commission as well as to the members of the audience, as well as the people that are viewing from, over cable. So that's why we do that, even though, it does.
Redundancy is a good thing, because the audience could also go to the commission agendas that are online too. So
Right.
you have the
could.
third reason.
That is a possibility.
I understand, no question of dispute. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, Heritage Preservation Commission, no report, no meeting. Okay, is there any other business that needs to come before the commission? If not, the meeting stands adjourned. You can make your 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you.